All right. And give it a couple seconds to catch up. All right, and welcome everyone to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, 4 years in a row, the Kasanova Podcast. I'm your host, Miguel Kasanova, and I've got the phenomenal, the one, the only eyyohbee, aka Austin O'Brien. Man, how's it going? How you doing today?
What's up, dude? Number one, that's the best intro I've ever had for anything in my life. But also, I was going to say, I hope I'm the only eyyohbee because everybody always asks me about my name and nobody ever knows what it means. So that at least means it's unique enough that nobody has any idea who I
am. Oh, man. How's your day going, man? And go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell people where they can find you and what you're up to. Because for the audience, for everyone everyone knows this, but if you don't know, check the description because I got all the information down there. But for the audience that doesn't know, Austin is a Twitch streamer known as eyyohbee. He is a vocalist of Ghost Key, which is an amazing band, and the co-host of an amazing podcast called From the Shelf Games Podcast. So
I do a lot.
He does. He's a man of many hats.
I definitely do. I sometimes have my hands full. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I play in a band called Ghost Key. That's like maybe how some people would probably know me. Definitely like how I got my start in content creation and stuff. Mm-hmm. I've been doing that since 2011. Toured pretty much full time for like 6 years, where to a point where we were gone more than we were home. Kind of slowed that down and then started doing like Twitch and stuff about 3 years ago. And then I started doing the podcast almost a year ago now, which is kind of wild to think about because I remember starting it. And I remember it just being an idea. And then like as of last night, YouTube as well, because I just thought I'm not doing enough things. I should add another thing. So I'm like finishing up my first YouTube video, which I was like terrified wasn't going to be long enough. And then now I'm like to the point where I had to cut it from 20 minutes to 10 minutes. And I don't know, man. I like got to stay busy, I guess, is like my biggest thing.
No, I'd say this, man. You didn't have to cut it down from 20. Like YouTube is, I've been on YouTube for about almost 5 years now, and YouTube it's wild. Like,
yeah,
you would think like, sometimes like, oh, you got to have shorter videos or maybe you got to have longer ones. But it's like, honestly, YouTube is like, people are there for whatever you got to say. Like if you've got something to say, you want something, you want to share something, people are just there for that, man. And it's a wild ride. And for your first video, how were you stressed at all, or was it fun?
I mean, like I'm like used to doing stuff like this, and like I've made YouTube videos before. Like back in the day, I've got like an old YouTube channel that was it was just like from when I was skateboarding all the time, because like I grew up skateboarding. I've been skateboarding for like 20 years. I got skateboard here, and there's a couple more hanging on my wall. But I used to film skate videos with my friends, and they were never like, I never did it with the intention of like being on YouTube. I wasn't making YouTube videos. That was just the best way for me to upload them and then share it with my friends. And some of them got like a little bit more views than others and stuff. So like I'm kind of familiar with YouTube, but for this one, this is like my first foray into like, I guess, being a YouTuber. I don't like if that's a thing. I don't like, it feels weird I'm a YouTuber. Like I don't know. Anyways, I made the video. It's like 10 minutes long, and yeah, I wasn't like stressed. I wouldn't say that, but I was like, I put a lot of pressure on myself. I mean, this is a creative thing, content creators or musicians, whatever, like put a lot of pressure on myself to exceed a bar of quality that doesn't exist, like a bar that I've just made up in my head, and that I'll delete things sometimes because I'm like, it's not good enough. But like, I don't even know where the bar is. Like, it's just made up. Like there's so many times where I've worked on stuff where I'm like, this isn't good enough. It could be better. But I'm like, what does better even mean? Like, I don't even know how to quantify what that would look like, but it just is or isn't. I don't know. So I wasn't stressed. I was just worried that it wasn't going to be good enough. But like, honestly, I came out with like, I got to the end with like my rough edit, and I was just like, wow, like I'm actually really excited about this. I'm making content around a video game called Skater XL because, like I said, I've been skateboarding for 20 years, and so I'm really excited about the game. And it's really easy to talk about skateboarding when you've been doing it for so long and you love it so much. So I'm excited. So yeah,
I'm definitely looking forward to Skater XL. I know they've been I know it's coming. It's releasing on console pretty soon. And I was talking to I am Brandon because I know he's with Reverb Games and he's handling that. And I was telling him, I was like, dude, I'm excited for that because it's been a long time since we had a good skater game. Like since what Skate 2,
Skate 3 was released. I might get this wrong and somebody might get upset. I think it's 2007. I want to say it's either 2007 or 2009. It's been a very long time.
Yeah, it's been about over a decade.
I mean, definitely. I'll tell you this: we haven't had a skateboarding game on this generation of consoles, and this generation of consoles is almost over.
Well, no, we had that super crappy Tony Hawk.
Oh God! Okay.
Skater 5.
Yeah. Well, so I had a friend actually work on that game. I worked at a video game studio for a couple months doing QA, quality assurance, like testing, and one of our guys that does UI stuff, he worked on that game, and I was like, no way, dude, you gotta fill me in, and he was just like, you think the game was a mess? He was like, you should have worked on it. He was like, it was a nightmare. I'm like, oh, and like, unfortunately, I never got much more out of him, but yeah, he was just like, it was a bad time, dude. Like nobody had a good time working on that game, and I was just like, oh no. Oh no. Yeah. So I'll point out real quick. I'm not gonna like focus on chat too much, but Chris Bob works at the same studio, so he knows exactly who I'm talking about. It's I like I said, I wish I would have got more information out of him, but like from what I got was that working on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 was a nightmare, and that nobody wanted to do that. So and then it came out and nobody wanted to play it, so it worked out.
Yeah, that game got buried. I was like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it looked like a PS2 game.
Yeah, it did. Because it's like, okay, so, I feel like you and I are from the same generation. So we grew up during that, the extreme sports era. Like when you had, you had the BMX games. The X Games was really
shout out Dave Meara's Pro Freestyle BMX.
Yes. Yo, man, like that was the hype time. And, everything like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, the first one that came out back in '99, like that changed the landscape of extreme sports games. Yeah, because we had so many crappy ones from was it 989 Studios on the
dude? Yeah. I remember like the logo and everything. Yeah.
Yep. So it's like having that camp come out. They had a kick-ass soundtrack, and then you had the other games that followed it. You had the aggressive inline skating. I remember that came out.
Aggressive inline was the first time I ever heard Hoobastank. Yeah. I don't know why I remember that, but I always tell people, I'm like, dude, the first time I ever heard Hoobastank, Crawling in the Dark. Yeah. Well, but yeah, I mean, dude, I played all those games. Like the first one I ever played was Thrasher Skate and Destroy. That was the first skateboarding game I ever played. It was on PS1. And I think I got spoiled by that game really hard because coming from like skateboarding, I really liked the realistic aspect. And so Thrasher Skate and Destroy was like a realistic skateboarding game. You couldn't like Tony Hawk around the level and all that stuff. And so yeah, then like the Tony Hawk games came out and I liked them 100%, but I was just like, I want Thrasher, like that's what I want. So Skate came out and just like blew me out of the water. I mean, dude, the first demo for Skate dropped and it was like a big deal. They were like, the skate demo comes out, it's going to drop on the Xbox Live store. And my friend and I set our TVs up next to each other. I took my TV to his house, and then we set up next to each other. And the demo was only 30 minutes. You could only play for 30 minutes, and then it would restart. But you could restart as many times as you want. So we set up TVs next to each other, and we just restarted the demo all weekend long, and like literally just didn't sleep. So I'm definitely a fiend for skateboarding games. So Skater XL got announced, and I was just like, let's go. That's exactly what I want.
So you know, to ask you, like, if you were a fan, you know, hypothetical, because I haven't played it yet, but if I was, because I love the skate series, I love the Tony Hawk Pro Skater before 4 and all the other offshoots. So anything 3 and back, I loved.
Bro, what about Underground though? Dude, to me, Thug is like the pinnacle of Tony Hawk.
Yes,
because there was a story. It was the first time there was a story, and the story was really good. And also, Eric Sparrow is like the most evil villain of all time.
Okay, so we have to. Okay, so you agree after Thug?
It started to go downhill for sure. And I played those games. Like, I liked them. Thug 2, I like, but yeah, it's not as good as Thug 1. I like Project 8. I liked American Wasteland, but like they definitely I think what the biggest issue was is it became this thing where there was nowhere for them to go. Like, what else do you do? It's like you basically got all the mechanics in the world that you could really put in a skateboarding game. I mean, Thug, you had driving, and people were like pissed because you could drive a car. And so like beyond that, it was like, what do you do? Like Project 8, you could do like slow-mo. You could like flick the sticks and it would just make the board spin weird. But yeah, I mean, beyond that, American Wasteland, they did you could like, I think you could just like drop pieces into the level. And then I think Proving Ground was kind of the same way. But yeah, I mean, like they just kind of hit like a peak, and then it was like, where do you go? Like at that point they were just really iterating on the formula, but in the like most minute way that it was really hard for people to care and spend $60 on it every year.
So basically the Madden effect.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, but for some reason that just doesn't even matter to people, you know. It's like people buy that every year in droves.
That and the 2K games, like every year.
Yeah, all those like big sports. FIFA's like the top earner for EA. They make more money on that than they do almost any other game. It's insane. It does not. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess some fans, you can just iterate on things and they're happy forever. But apparently with skateboard, I think part of the reason was the skateboarding games too, though, is like they weren't just skateboarding fans. Yeah, you know, most of the people who buy sports games, I would say like 90% are sports fans, but skateboarding fans weren't the ones buying Tony Hawk games, because if it was just skateboarding fans, they would have never been as big as they were. They were for everybody. Yeah,
true. So with that being said, Skater XL, do I need to keep it on my radar? Will I be let down?
I mean, it's tough, dude. So it goes back to the point of what I was saying with skateboarders are the ones buying this game. It's, you know, it's not Tony Hawk, where I don't think it's for everybody. I definitely don't. And, you know, I feel maybe Easy Day probably isn't like the most stoked if somebody would say that, but it's true. It's it's a skateboarding simulator, and that's like what the YouTube video I'm working on is about, is introducing people to the idea that it is a as realistic as possible skateboarding game. Like they were trying to make it as close as possible. It's still, I would say, still accessible. I mean, like the gravity isn't overly intense, so it's a little easier once you understand the controls. Like, it's not impossible to land tricks or anything, but it, in my opinion, it's super rewarding because you have to work at it. Like, you have to get better at the game. It honestly, and I don't mean to do like the most tired, I'm wearing a Dark Souls shirt, the most tired explanation or, you know, comparison, but like Dark Souls was one of the first games in a long time that I felt like I could feel myself getting better at the game.
Yeah.
And Skater XL is the second example of that. There's a distinct difference from when I started to now. Like 160 hours in, which is like not even that much for the community. Oh, that's like small, dude. This is like a game that there's like, you hit 1,000 hours and that's like, then you're in. Like I know a ton of people that have 1,000. I know a couple that's got 2. Like, like people are very, very, very serious about this game. But yeah, I can feel the difference between like 150 hours and when I started. And I'm not even like that good yet, but it's awesome. I love it, dude. So I like I said, it's not for everybody, but if you're interested in like a realistic skateboarding game, I mean, it's almost hard to not buy it because it's $20 right now. And it's going to go up to 40 when it leaves early access. So like for $20, you can decide if you like it or not. You know, it's I think a little bit easier to bite the bullet on that than it is on 40.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Plus, like the community is really awesome, and that's like part of the reason I'm getting into YouTube for it. Is they're just like, everybody is super friendly and super welcoming, and like I started streaming it. Like I haven't really streamed it other than like once or twice here and there. And then like more recently I've done it pretty consistently, and you just like see all the same people in all the streams, and like it's like a pretty small community right now as far as like Twitch and stuff goes. But I mean, I think YouTube is like ripe for it. People want that content, which is really cool. And there's a ton of mods, which is like a big reason the community is like blossoming the way it is. My favorite thing, one of my favorite things about video games ever, and this goes all the way back to like Half-Life 1, is the fact that some games, it's less common nowadays, some games allow people to create mods and stuff like that. And honestly, a lot of game devs get their start modding games. And so like Skater XL is just creating the next generation. It's like kids who've never even heard of Blender are opening Blender. Kids who've never heard of Unity are opening Unity. They're learning how to code. They're learning how to script. And like, so I mean, that community is just like blowing up. And everybody you talk to is like, I've never modded a game. I've never developed a game or anything, but like, I really wanted this feature in the game, so I just made it. Like, I just learned how to make it. And it's impressive because I feel dumb. I'm just like, okay, I'll download it and play it. Like, I'm not going to make it, but I'll definitely play it. So it's awesome, man. It's a really great community. And I think anybody would be lucky to be involved in it.
Cool. Isn't it crazy to think like from the era we came up in to like now, where like when we were coming up, the idea of, you know, streaming games wasn't even there, or playing games or reviewing games as a profession, or even developing games. There was no clear-cut way of how to get into it. You just read the gaming magazines. Whereas now you got kids, like you said, like going into Unity and, you know, creating games or doing mods. Like, it's insane. Like, I feel like
dude, it's like 12-year-olds. And they're like, yeah, like I think I'm pretty close to finishing like the script, so this model where I'm like, what? Like, what, dude? Like, when I was 12 years old, I was just like watching skate videos and eating Pop-Tarts. Like, I wasn't opening Unity and like learning how to script. That's insane to me. Yeah, I mean, it's insane with like streaming and stuff. I remember watching when they first started broadcasting like MLG, and then I can't remember what the Counter-Strike. There was like a Counter-Strike Source League like back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't remember what it's called, but I remember when they started broadcasting those tournaments on the internet. But there wasn't really anything like Twitch, really. I mean, probably a little bit later, you know, we had like Justin TV and stuff. But I remember having to go to like a specific website, or even E3. I mean, stuff like that is like, you didn't watch E3 on Twitch. You went to like IGN or GameSpot, and they had like this shot ass 360p stream, and it was all pixelated and blocky, but it was like, who cares? I get to see E3. Yeah, and now like there's millions of people every day that just sit down and press go and play games on the internet. It's weird. I don't know. think I'll ever get used to it, to be honest. I've been doing it for 3 years, and every time I like start my stream, I'm just like, this is weird. Weird. The best weird, but super weird.
So let's talk about it. Like you've been being a streamer for, like you said, 3 years, 3.5 years. How did you get started? Like, what was the moment that you're like, you know, fuck it, let's do this. Let's go in.
So I still am confused because apparently I had a Twitch channel in 2013. Like I had an account. I had never streamed or anything, but I remember I logged in. So the reason I started streaming, or the reason I even like got it into my head, was an old friend of mine from music, who I knew from St. Louis. He would like come up to Peoria to see bands, and I would go to St. Louis to see bands, and like we just run into each other all the time. I hadn't talked to him in years, and he posted on Facebook this like big long thing about how he just got partnered on Twitch, and like it was a big deal. And I was like, oh, I don't really know what that means, but he seems really excited about it. And I just happened to click on it. It was like my old friend is excited about a thing, like why not support him? And so I went over, and you know, he's like celebrating and stuff. And this was like pre-affiliate, so he just got his sub button. You didn't get a subscribe button until you were a partner. And so people are just like firing off subscriptions, and like it was just like super hype, and I thought it was awesome. And I was like, damn, this is like pretty cool. Like I think I could get into this. Like I don't know about like this partner stuff, but like I could definitely see myself doing something like this. And so I like started poking around, but I remember logging in, and I was like, or trying to create an account, and it was like, you already have an account. I'm like, what the hell? I don't remember creating an account. So it's very likely there was like some maybe promotion or something on Twitch, and I briefly logged in, and it's like kind of crazy because I always think about like what could have been. Like what if I had started streaming in 2013 instead of, you know, 2017 or whatever. But yeah, I got started purely because I saw a Facebook post from a friend, and the first few months were just downright awful. I mean, not on like not for me. I had fun, but I was streaming like PUBG with my friends. Like shout out Mean Team 6. That's what we call ourselves. And it was just 4 friends, and we would just play PUBG. And I had no like schedule. There was nothing like that. It was just, I'm gonna play PUBG with my friends, and whenever they ask me to get on, I'm just gonna go live. And I had like 2 viewers for like 4 months. It would just be like friends who weren't playing with us at the time cycling in, though like one-off random guy that for some reason scrolled to the bottom of the PUBG category. Like it was I was using a headset microphone that sounded awful. I was streaming off of a laptop. I mean, it was like a gaming laptop, but it was just like, I didn't know what drop frames were, but I was dropping frames all the time because my laptop was just like, bro, we cannot be playing games and streaming. Like that is just not. I'm like maxing PUBG out, and I'm just like, what's wrong? I don't know why. I looked at my stream and it was all like choppy. You know what the hell? And I had to like. There was just so much to learn, and like I had no idea. It took me. I mean, almost a year probably to even like really figure it out. And then I like, you know, went from 2 viewers, and then I upped my quality a little bit, figured my shit out, and went to 5, and then I went to 10, and yeah, I'm where I am now, which is like, I don't know, I got like 30 people hanging out almost every night, which is awesome. It's super tight, but sometimes I still have the issues that I had on day 1 with technology because I hate technology. I'm like, guys, I swear I can fix it. I can fix it. And I can't fucking fix it. There's no chance.
I mean, you saw earlier too, like when we were, okay, so for the audience who doesn't know, like when we were trying to set up for this, I was having technical issues. He's like, yo, I can't hear you. And I'm over here like, what? I'm looking at my Go XLR. I'm like, no, I'm talking.
Dude,
the meter is going. Right. Literally, I did this update. And this is a thing. Like, I don't think, and this is more of a behind the scenes thing, but for people who aren't streamers, we run into so many technical issues.
Oh yeah, all the time. And like sometimes, like some of them you'll never see. Like you wouldn't even know that we did it because you just get so used to trying to fix things like on the fly. I mean, some of them are obvious. Like, don't get me wrong. Sometimes my mic just for some reason doesn't work, and my chat's like, "Yo, there's no voice. Like, you're not saying." I'm like sitting here talking. I'm like, and they're just like, "No, you're not saying. We can't hear you." And I'm just like, "All right, cool." But you know, there's a lot of stuff that people just like literally would never even know is an issue because you're just like fixing it on the fly. I tell people all the time, it's like sometimes I feel like James Bond running a stream because I'm just like, okay, I can fix this. Like nobody even has any idea that something's going wrong. It's a lot harder than people think, for sure. A lot of people think it's like, oh, you just press go and everything's fine. But it's like, dude, you're fixing things the whole 4 or 5 hours you're live, to be honest.
Dude, I have so many people tell me, they're like, oh, this is so easy. Like, it's all you got to do is hit go live and make sure you got a mic, you have a camera, you have your console or your PC, and it's going to be super easy. And I'm like,
yep,
sure. You keep.
I mean, I definitely thought it would be. I definitely thought when I started, I was like, dude, this is going to be so sick. I bet I get partner in like a year max. And I mean, some people do. Don't get me wrong. Like, I've got friends that have been streaming for less time than me, and they shot up to 100 viewers. And shout out to them. Like, that's awesome. But yes, it's not easy for anybody. People really think that they're just going to press go live and just cruise. But I mean, even from like an entertainment perspective, is just like, if you just press go live and think you're just going to cruise and just be you, and not have to dial it up at all, you're wrong. You are super wrong, because that is just not going to work. Because trust me, I tell people all the time, like, I have people come and chat and, like thank me for streaming and stuff, which is like the most heartwarming thing in the world, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like, I would be doing this either way, but I tell people all the time, it's just like, dude, if I wanted to, like, I could just flick this light off, kick my chair back, like, I wouldn't even have to think about it. It's like, you got to dial it up a little bit, everybody. It's entertainment. You got to be entertaining. And I'm not saying that I'm somebody I'm not when I stream. Like I do my very best to be the same person, because that's just like the type of vibe I want. But I mean, am I loud all the time? No, but do I sometimes get a little vocal on stream, because I know that it's more entertaining than if I were just to react like, okay, cool, like, that's not fun. It's not fun for me. It's definitely not fun for anybody watching. That shit is boring, So yeah, it's tough. It's way tougher than people want to sometimes pretend. I mean, you see it all the time, Facebook comments and shit, like, hey, people just stream and make a ton of money, like, that's super easy. It's just like, okay, dude, if I wanted to make a bunch of money, the very last thing I would do is sit down and stream on Twitch.
Yeah.
Like, I would go get a second job if that was my goal, because that would be a lot faster than doing this for 3 years and making like not very much money. Like, I get to buy extra games every month, which is tight. But it's usually for streaming, and I get to like invest in gear and stuff, which is awesome. And I'm not like ever shy about how many subs I have or anything. Like, my channel knows that. But I'm definitely still on the low end, even though I have more subs than most people. Like, I'm still on the low end, and like but I don't care, because it's not about the money. Like, I don't show up 4 days a week for money. Like I said, I just go get a second job if I wanted that. There's a lot faster ways to make money, I promise.
Yeah. No, and that's one of the things too, like, for, with me, since I've gotten into, content creation on YouTube for years, I did start streaming on Twitch about, I want to say 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And I was just streaming with no traction. I probably had one viewer, or sometimes two. And he's probably in the chat now, but Zero Fanatic, he was with me when I first started streaming on Twitch. And it was just me and him for the longest. Like, I had no traction on Twitch, and I was like, okay, I'll go to YouTube, since I already have an audience there, and see how it is there. So I was streaming on YouTube, and the YouTube started to take off, and not only from the pre-recorded videos with the podcast, and then having the streams, and then it was doing really good. I mean, to me, I'm used to having one viewer. So when it got to the point where I've got 5 people, 6 people, 10 people, 15 people, I'm like, yo, this is awesome. Like,
it's like, oh, we're popping off now.
Right?
Yeah.
So like it
think about 10 people standing in a room watching you do anything.
Right?
It's like not that many people, but it's also you're just like, we're popping off. Let's go. Like, no, I mean, dude, I equate it to playing shows all the time. Like there's been so many. Anybody like my friend Chris, who was in here, he knows like the same ways. Sometimes like you play shows to nobody, but then the next day you play to 5 or 10 people, and you're like, yesterday I played to nobody. 10 people's crazy. And like it's just you gotta like take what you can get, and also like you gotta remember it's the same with music. You gotta remember that those people are there because they want to see you, and if they aren't there because they want to see you, maybe they just popped into your Twitch channel because you got a host or a raid or whatever. You better damn well make sure they know who you are, and you better make sure they want to be there for you. And that's I stream the same way I always played shows. Is like if there's 5 people here, I'm gonna do my best to make sure that those 5 people have a reason to come back next time.
Yeah, you definitely, you know, there's that mentality of just like you said, like I've got a music background as well. I used to be in a band, lead guitarist, didn't really do anything with that. I did more with singing.
You live in Hawaii. It's not exactly easy for you to hop in the van and just like hit the tour, you know.
It's true. But like, you know, I have that same mentality. Like if I stream or if I do a pre-recorded video, like my whole thing is like I need to put on a fucking show. Because literally, you know, with the auditions I did when, you know, before I did music with like, cause I used to do, my passion is rock music,
sure, but
my singing voice is more tuned towards R&B and soul. So when I was doing, you know, we had auditions out here, before I got signed, because I had been signed before to Virgin Records, but they relegated me to a ghost.
Oh, is that a flex?
It's not. It's no.
That's sick. I'm just pressing your buttons. That's dope.
It's not okay. So, but the thing is, the reason it's not a flex is because I didn't have the look they wanted, so they made me a ghost writer and a ghost singer. So I basically
yucky, baby.
Dude, they put me in a Milli Vanilli situation. I'm in the back looking at the monitor with the mic. And I'm reading dude's list. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. I gotta say this. He's gonna go.
I mean, look, I'll never. I genuinely like flexing is tight because anybody that accomplishes anything should be proud of it. If you're not proud of your accomplishments, then what the hell did you do it for? Like, be proud of yourself. You know, I like to poke. I do with my friends all the time. Like, try to flex, but like, it's just like I have a hard time with this myself because. Sometimes I'm like maybe too humble, but I don't know. I can't. Sometimes I just can't accept praise. But like, yeah, if you do something badass, like you did something badass. Ghostwriting for Virgin Records might not be the thing you wanted to do, but it's still pretty badass.
But you know, to tie into what you were saying, when you're up there, you got that one shot to catch people's attention. It's something I've been because my wife, she's a content creator and streamer too. She's gotten into streaming on Twitch, and I keep, you know, one of the things I told her, and she finally grasped it, was like presence. Be you. Don't try to sound proper and all that. Just let loose. Like be who you are outside of it, and occasionally turn the dial up a little bit. You know.
Yeah, that's all it is. You're just amplifying who you already are. It's not like you're putting on a face or being fake. I mean, like you can watch like videos of my band playing. I tell you what, in my real life, I don't run around screaming at people. But like when I'm on stage, I turn it up a little bit, and I'm the same person. I'm still cracking jokes. I'm still goofy. I mean, dude, like. There's a bunch of videos of me asking people to mosh, but when I ask them to mosh, I'm like telling them that it's like for Smash Brothers. I'm like yelling about Smash Brothers and telling people to fight each other. It's like I'm the same person. I just dial it up a little bit. Like, yeah, it's Twitch is the same way. If you're not being you, if you're not being authentic, it's generally pretty easy to see. And like some people, that's their whole thing, which that's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
You better be good at not being you, because if you're not, then people are going to see right through it.
Especially if they meet you in person.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel really lucky that I get that. Like when I go to TwitchCon, I went to TwitchCon last year. I don't know if it's happening this year. I don't want to think about it. But I went to TwitchCon last year and I met like a few of the people from my community in person for the first time. And I had met a few of them prior to that, like a few other people, because I was touring. And so, I'd be like, hey, we're playing here tonight. Like if you watch the channel and you're around, like feel free to come out, whatever. But I always get the same thing. It's always, man, you're just like the same person. Like you're like no different. And I'm just like, that's the best compliment you could give me, because that's exactly how I want to be. I don't ever want people to think that I'm like a different person. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely just dial it up. That's all it is, baby. You just got to be entertaining.
I dig it.
Not everybody's got it either.
So since we got the music thing in common, dude, what got you into music?
My dad. Yeah, it was all my dad. I mean, like my mom and dad like really love music, but neither one of them are musical at all, like whatsoever. But just like big fans of music. Like always when I was growing up, my parents split when I was, I think, like 3 or 4. I was pretty young, so like I barely remember it, but it was at my mom's house. It was always like outlaw country, so like Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, stuff like that. And then I go to my dad's house, and it was just like metal all the time. And so it was really nice because I got so many different influences, and I also just became comfortable with liking so many different styles of music. But for whatever reason, I like gravitated more towards what my dad was showing me, which was like Ozzy and Smashing Pumpkins and Motley Crue and like just all stuff like that. I mean, like Black Sabbath's my dad's favorite band of all time. And so
damn good band.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like he passed it on to me for sure. Like I will go to the grave saying that Black Sabbath is probably the greatest metal band of all time. But because of that, I started to branch out a little more as like a young adult, and I got into like new metal and shit, which was definitely like a phase, but I think it's like one of those phases a lot of people seem to be embarrassed by, but I'm just like, I'm not. I don't know. I really like that music still. So like at like 10 years old, I was listening to like Korn and Slipknot and Linkin Park and like Limp Bizkit and like all that. I think Limp Bizkit was like one of the first CDs I ever owned after. It was definitely the first like metal or whatever CD. The only CD I owned before that was Aaron Carter's like House Party or something. It's like I don't know what the record's called. It's like his popular one. I was really into boy bands as like a 6 to 10-year-old.
Who wasn't back then?
Oh yeah, no shame. Like, bro, I'll listen to Backstreet Boys. I'll listen to Hanson and NSYNC and all that shit. Like I'm not ashamed of any music that I like, but it was the Aaron Carter CD that had like, it was a star and then it was like red, white, and blue, and it had Aaron's Party on it, and it had I Want Candy on it, How I Beat Shaq, and then my next CD was Limp Bizkit. But I got into new metal, and then my older brother, my mom remarried, so my stepbrother got really into a lot of the stuff that made sense for like for his age group and stuff, but like the emo, you get genre specific, but at the time that's what it was called. So he was listening to bands like Silverstein and My Chemical Romance and Under Oath and stuff like that, and I was not into it because Slipknot was the heaviest thing I'd ever heard, and to me that was like all just boy band music. Like even though those bands I love now, at the time I was like, well, it's not as heavy as Slipknot, so I can't listen to it. And he started taking me to shows probably around like 12. He would have been like 15, so probably around 12 years old. there was like a music venue super close to our house, like within walking distance, right next to the Wendy's, where we would always get Wendy's in between bands. You watch the band. It was American Legion Hall. You watch the band, you'd leave, walk across the street, you get chicken nuggets, you go back and watch the next band. But he took me to the show that I think like changed the way I felt about, even though I didn't know it at the time, how I felt about like heavy music was took me to see two bands, Under Oath and Bleeding Through. And I remember hating it. Like straight up was not about it. I was like 12 years old. I was wearing like black trip pants with like chains and shit. And I hated it. I was like, dude, this is the worst music I've ever heard. Like, this isn't anything. Because he like conned me into it. He's like, oh, it sounds like Slipknot, so you'll like it. And it did not sound like Slipknot, and I hated it. I was so mad. And then he started handing me CDs like over the next few months and whatever, and ended up being that the band that I saw that I hated, Under Oath, they're like one of my favorite bands of all time now. And then, you know, he gave me like My Chemical Romance CDs. He would give me some like pop punk stuff like Blink-182, and I like fell in love with it. And from there, like it just kind of got out of control, and I got into like all kinds of heavy music. Like I got super into death metal, and like got super into metalcore, and then punk rock and hardcore came, and then I just like really wanted to start a band. Like after seeing, especially punk, like punk rock and hardcore is probably like my main most listened to style of music or whatever. Just like the ethics and the ethos and everything, and also just like the sound. Like it's just loud and it's aggressive, and I am not loud and aggressive most of the time. And so like I guess it just really works for me to have a space where I can be. And so seeing those bands all the time, and like watching bands get on stage, and it was the first time I'd ever seen in punk rock and hardcore, the first time I'd ever seen bands get on stage and speak about like about topics that mattered. I'd never really heard bands get on stage, and like I wasn't vegan or anything, but I'd never heard bands get on stage and talk about being a vegan. And I never heard bands get on stage and talk about like social issues, you know, like racism and sexism. I'd never been confronted with ideas like that before. And it was definitely a culture shock, because I grew up like a pretty normal Midwestern kid who had no access to any information about like the real world. You know, it's like not a big town or anything. And so I probably said, I mean, not even probably, I definitely said a lot of things I wasn't proud of, and had terrible language. You know, I definitely used homophobic slurs all the time as a kid without thinking about it and stuff like that. Never been confronted with the idea that like, you know, words have power and stuff. And punk rock bands did that for me, and I like, it blew me away. And so after seeing people get on stage for so long and not only play music I liked, but talked about things that started to be really important to me, I was like, damn, I think I really want to do that too. And like 2011, me and my friends like just decided to do it. I like forced everybody. I was like, we like started a band, wrote music, and I was like, all right, now we got a tour. And then we're like, oh, what? I was like, yeah, we're going to leave home for like a week. And I set up all these shows, but we have to show up. And they were just like, oh, we have, like, you did it without telling us? I was like, well, no, I told you, you just didn't listen. So, you know, in 2 months, like, we got to get in the van. I had my mom buy me a van. That was my like one of my first cars. She's like, what kind of car do you want? And we grew up like middle class, so I didn't get to be like, I want a Mustang or what, you know, whatever all the high school kids drove at the time. I was like, I want a van. She's like, a van? I'm like, yeah, I need a van that will get me from place to place, and I can fit all of my band's equipment into it. Found me a shitty van for like $2,000 or something. Best car I ever owned, and packed all our shit into it. And then we just like, I was 18 years old, and we just like started playing shows all over the Midwest at first. And then I was like, all right, we got to go to California. So we started playing shows like all over the coasts, and we did the East Coast, did the West Coast. And then now 9 years later, it's like, holy shit, where did time go? So there's my music history. And now we still do stuff. I mean, we're probably gonna get back together whenever we can leave our homes. And we're probably gonna write some music and stuff, but like we won't probably ever tour the way we used to, just because we're all doing different stuff. Everybody, you know, we're not like young, early to mid 20s anymore. It's like some of our guys are over 30 now, and people just have lives. Like, you know, unfortunately, you can't like put responsibility on hold forever. But we had that luxury throughout most of our 20s to do that, which is really, really cool.
Isn't it crazy? Like when you look back, and it's like how different being in your 30s is to the 20s. Like it's so different. Like I've had people tell me, they're like, oh, it's the same thing. I'm like, no, it's not.
No, definitely not. I mean, I'm 27, and there's a stark difference from who I was. And
that's when it happens.
And yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm feeling it. Trust me. Like last year, I just got engaged, which is super cool.
Congratulations.
But last year, thank you. Last year, I was not about it. Like I was like never gonna get married. I had been with my girlfriend for at that point like 7 or 8 years, and I was just like not gonna get married because like 18 to 26, I was just like super against the idea. Like to me, it seemed antiquated, and like I just didn't really see a purpose. Like, you know, I thought, well, love is enough. Like, I don't, you know, whatever. I'm better. I know more than everybody, whatever. And then I hit like 26 and I was like, I'm a fucking idiot. Like, I want to get married. Like, I don't know. I don't know why it changed. Like, I remember bringing it up. She's like, why did it change? I was like, I don't know. Cause I'm not like early mid 20s anymore. And I just decided like, it's something I want to do all of a sudden. Yeah, there's such a stark difference between who I was even a couple years ago. I mean, I think about it all the time. It's just like it's little things, but those little things just add up. Like there's so much about me that's different, that changed like so rapidly that I like almost didn't even notice until I really started to think about it.
Yeah, dude. Like I'm 31. Like I just turned 31 a couple months ago, and like I want to say like at 27, 28 is when I started. Like one, you get tired a lot more often. It's like it just hits you. You're like, oh god, I'm tired. Like 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, I'm kind of tired. Maybe I should get some more coffee. Like,
bro, I wish I felt that way. I sleep like 4 hours a night. Like, I'm like, damn, it's like 7 a.m. I wish I was tired. I can't even go to bed. That's the only thing I don't got. Yeah, I'm sure I'll get there, but it's like I stayed up till 6:30 last night editing a YouTube video, and I was just like, oh shit, the sun's coming up. Whoops. Like,
no, but like it does, like it'll start to slowly hit you, and like GK says in the chat, which is so true, and I'm noticing it. You really don't bounce back from injuries like in your 30s as you do in your 20s. Well, for me, I think it's different for me. Like as you know, like I'm 4 years in remission from colorectal cancer.
Right. Oh so, yeah. Like, I mean, that's definitely gonna.
So yeah. So there's that for me, but like I know for my wife, because my wife is the same age as me, and like you know, she recently, well, not recently, well, within the last year, she had gotten an injury, and it took her a lot longer to recover from that than it did in her 20s. She's like, damn, this, because she had what did she do? She had did something to her shoulder at work, because she works retail, or she did before this whole
yeah like most people. I used to do that. I guess right? Yeah, trust me, it's the same way for me. I used to have a job.
Right. So like she hurt her shoulder, and then it just took a hell of a lot longer to bounce back from it. And it's like, you would think like, yo, it has not been that long since I was in my 20s. Like it's only been like a year or two. Huge difference.
Yeah. Huge. I mean, I accelerated that because my like probably let's say 15 to 22, I was skateboarding like every day, and at the time I thought like it was a totally good idea to just throw myself downstairs and like just slam into the ground and like,
Mhm.
it's fine. Just get back up and try it again. And now I go to the skate park and I like roll around. And I'm like, damn, I've been here for 15 minutes. My ankle hurts. Like, I'm like feeling pain in areas of my body I didn't even know I could feel pain. My knees are creaky, and I'm just like, I'm gonna stay close to the ground today. I'm not gonna go much higher than like a foot or two off the ground because everything hurts. Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel that. I mean, some days I wake up and I feel pain in places that I know it's purely because of skateboarding. Like, I'll wake up and my knees are just on fire and I didn't even do anything. I literally just woke up and I'm like, yep, that's from skateboarding for sure. But like, I mean, it's fine. Like, I wouldn't trade those years for anything.
Definitely. Well, you said you got engaged, man. I saw the announcement you made. Congratulations.
Thanks,
how does it feel?
Honestly, like, not much different. Like, I don't know. I not that I expected it to. I didn't expect it to be like a, I'm engaged and everything is different all of a sudden thing. I mean, we're definitely in that period. It's been like less than a week where everyone's still asking about it and stuff, and like family's like still texting me, which is cool. And but yeah, like our relationship is like mega chill. Like we're just like we don't really get invested in stuff like that. Like we're obviously excited, but I didn't expect anything to chill, and it'll be the same. Like, we're hoping to get married like February of next year, and I don't think it'll be anything different than our relationship has been for the past almost 10 years. Like, we've been together for a really long time, and we kind of know each other really well and stuff. And so, yeah, nothing really changed. I mean, she has a cool ring and she's stoked on that. And, sometimes I get to be proud and like gloat about it a little bit to family members and friends. But other than that, yeah, it's not really different, which is tight. Like, I would rather have it that way than, feel a ton of pressure about things and stuff.
Yeah.
I think if I had asked her to marry me when I was 3 years into the relationship, I think I would have been a lot more worried and a lot more stressed out about it. But yeah, for the most part, it's just like, cool. Like, now you're going to be my wife instead of my girlfriend. It's not much different, but it's nice. Plus, like I said, she gets to show off the ring, which is cool.
It's definitely a change. Like, I know for me, with my wife and I have been married. We're coming up on 4 years now. Nice. And we've known each other since we were like 19, and it's super crazy.
Yeah, same.
To know like, and the thing is, like, we met each other back then we were 19, and I liked her. I was a club promoter. She was there. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna, just talk to her, and it never went anywhere. We separated, stayed friends though. And then like coming out of just years of distance and other relationships, and we just reconnected. Like, let's say like at this point, 5 or 6. I want to say like 6 years ago, we reconnected. And then after being, we hit it off, friends for a month and a half. And then we slowly just started, we were in the way she tells it, because we tell it so differently. She tells it like, oh, we were dating the whole time. I was like, wait, what? I thought we were just chilling, playing Diablo. Like, I'm like, wait. I was like, wait, I thought we were chilling, playing Diablo and Ghosts and Goblins, because like we'd go over to her apartment and then she'd be playing Ghosts and Goblins or Street Fighter Double Dragon. And then I'd be, she'd come to my place, we played Diablo and whatnot. I'm thinking we're just hanging out and going, she'd like, oh, let's go painting. I'm like, yeah, let's go paint. Let's go catch a movie. Yeah, let's go do that. Oh, let's go get a drink. Yeah, let's go do that. And then next thing I know, she kissed me, and I was like, wait,
hold up.
Wait. She's like, I did tell you I would make a good girlfriend for you. I'm like, oh yeah.
Damn, you didn't say that, huh?
Yeah. But it's like, it's one of those things, like, she's super chill. And like, of all the girls that I've ever dated or been with, like, dude, I have no, like, as far as like her and I, we have no drama. She likes video games. I like video games. She likes doing her thing and like gardening and stuff like that. So like, we just literally we just mesh, you know. And I see a lot of people that like have constant drama with like their partners and whatnot. And they're like, oh, I'm gonna marry this girl, I'm gonna marry this guy, and I'm like, how much drama have you had in the last 2 weeks?
You're like, look, I'm not judging, but I'm judging.
You know, I'm just like,
it's the same way for us. I mean, like, we've never had like, we bicker, you know, because that's what you do with people you live with. Because sometimes you're just in each other's way, but we don't fight. There's never any drama, nothing like that. It's cool too, because like we're pretty different people. Like, you know, we're not into all the same things. We obviously we have similar interests, but she like doesn't really play video games except Spyro the Dragon, which she platinumed.
What?
I don't know. Like she's like always been a Spyro fan, but like we bought the remasters when they came out, and she played it for like a few weeks or whatever. She's like, yeah, I don't know, I 100%ed it, and I'm like, you know that you've 100%ed one more game than me, right? Because I've never platinumed anything. I'm not like an achievement guy, but yeah, she was just like, I don't know, I just had to finish the whole thing. I'm like, okay, but like that's insane. So she plays like Pokemon and stuff, but we don't really like game. And she's like super into baseball, which I have no interest in sports outside of the stuff she cares about. You know, like I'll listen to her talk about it, and I know
I'm the same way. I don't care about sports either.
Yeah, I just never has really interested in me outside of like playing the Madden games with my dad when I was a kid. Like I just never really cared. I prefer like NBA Jam and NFL Blitz before I play like a real sports game. So I listen to her talk, and when she talks, I know what she's talking about. But you know, beyond that, like those are, I would say, like our big opposites. Is like I'm super into video games and stuff like that, and she's super into baseball. And then outside of that, it's like we share most of the same interests. She won't watch my horror movies anymore because I tricked her too many times. I didn't even trick her, but I took her to see like Hereditary. But I took her to see it. I mean, I went to see it, and she came with me, and she started to notice.
You're not responsible for that.
Well, it's my fault. I'm not saying it's not my fault. Like, it's totally my fault. I get that.
No, it's not. No. If she went along with you,
well, so she got smart, and she realized the pattern was that anytime I showed her a movie that had the A24 logo at the beginning, there was a really good chance she wasn't gonna like it, because we saw Hereditary. We watched The Witch together. We saw there was another A24 movie. Oh, I showed her Swiss Army Man, which is not a horror movie. It's a movie with Daniel. She's a massive Harry Potter fan. So am I. Swiss Army Man's a Daniel Radcliffe movie, and it's like this weird ass. He's like a dead guy, and this other guy finds him, and he uses the dead guy to like get off this island. It's really weird, but it's an A24 movie, and I got her into it because it's Daniel Radcliffe. She's like, "Yeah, I'll watch it with you." And that was the first time she was like, "What? This is so weird." And I was like, "It's A24. Like they kind of make weird movies." And then she saw some of the horror movies. She's like, "I'm not watching A24 movies with you anymore." I was like, "All right, that's fair. Like I'll give you that for sure." But she did watch The Invisible Man with me. She actually wanted to see that herself. She's definitely into more like thrillers, like you know, like Invisible Man, Us. We saw together, which is really good. What's the other one he did? I'm blanking super hard. Get Out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Get Out. We saw Get Out together. She really liked that. So she likes more like, I guess, cerebral horror. Whereas I like all of it. I like, give me gore, but also give me, you know, thick plot with a ton of story stuff. It's she don't watch A24 movies anymore. That's for sure.
All right. So we can segue into one or two directions. I'm going to go this way. What are some of your interests? So we know you like video games, you like music, you like horror movies. What are some of your other hobbies and interests?
Bro, I feel shallow, but that's like kind of it. I mean, I really like something I kind of fell out of that I'm hoping to get back into. We're talking about moving back to where we're from, which is Peoria. It's like 3 hours away from Chicago. I live in Illinois, I guess, for people that don't know. Our hometown's only about 3 hours away. We moved up here like 6-7 years ago. But before I moved away, I was super into, I talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but filming skate videos. I used to do a lot of like filming my friends and stuff, and even just like making little short skits and stuff like that, which, it kind of ties back into content creation ultimately. But yeah, that's like one of the big things. I really, really want to get back into filming skateboarding, because I was always the guy behind the camera, because I was never really all that good. At least like to the level my friends were. Like I'm very happy with my, I guess, abilities as a skateboarder, but my friends were definitely always like the ones who were willing to throw themselves downstairs for far longer than I was, and skate big stuff. So I started filming just like naturally, and I kind of fell out of it when I moved away, because I don't really skate with people anymore. I go to the skate park by myself now, or with like a friend for a couple hours, and so that's something I really want to get back into. I'm also like really into comic books. I'm piss poor at keeping up with them, because I don't really live near a comic shop. Like there's one not too far from my apartment, but they are a really small shop, and so anything that comes out, if it's a week by week issue that I'm trying to stay up on, if it's like a new issue every week I'm trying to buy, I can never get my hands on it, because it's always like gone really fast. I really try to keep up with for a while I was reading the new X-Men reboot, which is really good. It's the House of X, Powers of X stuff. Awesome story. Really, really, I've always really liked the X-Men, but like never really kept up with them outside of like animated shows and stuff. And so I was trying to do my due diligence and keep up with X-Men, but those were selling out every week, so I'm behind on that. Another thing I've been really super into is Donnie Cates has this really sick Venom and Carnage series that he's been doing. Venom, and then it ties in with a story called Absolute Carnage. And I have been a Venom fan since I was a kid. We grew up, like you said, kind of the same time. Super 90s, like really goofy, edgy character that I sometimes don't really think made it into the 2000s all that well, or the 2010s, whatever, because he's just very much a product of the 90s. But I love Venom so much. I think it comes a lot from my love of like sci-fi movies, because like Venom is a symbiote. He's technically an alien, stuff like that. But I've been reading that like as much as possible and trying to keep up with it. And then I just ordered a few Batman trades that I haven't read, like a lot of classic Batman stories that I just, for whatever reason, have never gotten to. So I'm really excited to read that. I think I have Year One, Long Halloween, and Court of Owls that I ordered, which I'm really excited about, because I know those stories. That's the worst part, is like I know those stories, I just never read them. I'm the type of person that spends a lot of time on Wikipedia, and so if I really love a hero or really love a story, I'll get on Wikipedia and read every little snippet about it, but then never get around to actually reading the story. So
me too.
Yeah, it's like, dude, I know so much about, and I'm not a flex. Like there are definitely people who know more, but I know so much about heroes, especially like the ones I really love. But people are like, oh, so you've probably read this like major important story that everyone ever has read. And I'm like, no, I have not. I know what that story is about, but I've never read it. It sucks. Like, and part of it too is just like, I'm scatterbrained, like really, really bad. And I have trouble focusing on reading things a lot of the time. I'm a very visual person, which is why I like movies so much, because I can watch a movie, but sometimes like sitting there trying to read stuff, I just like can't focus. And so even with comic books, they're pretty short. But I did just restarted Hellboy recently, which I've been reading. Big fan of Mike Mignola. His art is super awesome. It's like classic Hellboy. And I've always loved that character. So okay. I haven't watched the movie, the new one, because people told me it was really bad, and then some people told me it was really good, and I really like David Harbour, and I don't want to be upset, but I'm gonna watch it eventually. I mean, I am like most people. Ron Perlman is just like the definitive version of that character. But I'll get around to it eventually. Yeah. Other than that, horror movies, sci-fi movies. I really like sci-fi. That's another one my girlfriend will sometimes indulge more than horror, but some stuff is she's just like, why do you like things that are so weird? And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I really love like stuff like Twin Peaks and X-Files, which honestly informs a lot of the like video games that I play. I mean, like one of my favorite games of all time is Alan Wake, and it's Alan Wake is straight up Twin Peaks X-Files.
Yeah.
So I mean, Remedy, I will say that Remedy Entertainment is my favorite developer ever. Like they literally, besides Death Rally, which is their first game I've never played, every other game they've ever released, Max Payne 1 and 2, Alan Wake, Control, and then Quantum Break, which I haven't played. It's the only one I haven't played.
Ooh, dude, you gotta play it.
Dude, it's behind me on my shelf. I ordered the special edition a couple weeks ago because I'm on this quest right now to collect all of the special editions of their games. I'm not a huge collector, even though I did just get an Xbox and an NES. So I'm kind of excited to start buying retro games, but I'm not like a massive collector. I'm not trying to collect every game under the sun or anything, but they're just like a handful of ones that I really want to own. And the Remedy special editions are it, which unfortunately they don't even have special editions for all their games. Like Max Payne 2 didn't get one. Max Payne 1 does have one, and it's insanely hard to find because it's like $100 on eBay. It's stupid. It's just a big box with a mouse pad. It's like a Max Payne mouse pad, but it's coveted, I guess, again for Remedy fans. I don't know. And then Control didn't get a special edition, which was one of my favorite games last year. They just got a steel case, but I'm gonna buy it because best developer of all time, in my eyes, my opinion. I always try to be very clear. Things are my opinion. Like that's like one of my golden rules when I stream is I tell people this stuff is my opinion and I'll never ever ask you to like subscribe to it because I'm wrong a lot.
Okay. No, I actually I got to interview the lead designer and developer for Control, and
no way.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I gotta watch that. That's awesome.
Dude, it's crazy. Like I talk to the guy probably 2 or 3 times a month, and he'll just check in with me. He'll like send me a message like, "Hey, how's it going? Like, we got more stuff coming for Control, and we got the stuff coming up for the anniversary of Alan Wake." And I'm like, I'm all ears.
Oh yeah, the Alan Wake, dude. I'm playing through on stream right now. So like I said, I stream Skater XL all the time, and then basically what I do is Skater XL is like my palette cleanser. I'll play a story game, and then I'll play Skater XL for like a week, and then I'll play another story game, and then rinse and repeat. And I was like, I don't know what to play. I really want to play Max Payne. Whatever, let's just play Max Payne. And then I was like, shit, let's just do all the Remedy games. We're just gonna stream every Remedy game because most of them aren't that long, and there's only a handful. So I just finished Max Payne 2, and then I was like, all right, cool, we're gonna play Skater XL for like the next week, and then we'll play Alan Wake. And then I saw Remedy tweet, "Yo, Alan Wake 10th anniversary," and I was like, "Oh my god, it's perfect, dude!" So excited about that. I hope that. I mean, I'm sure they'll celebrate it. They're not gonna like, here's Alan Wake remastered, but I would really, really like maybe just a treat. Just give me something. Like, I just need something, please.
Did you see the stuff in Control, like all the references?
Oh, absolutely.
They're in the same world. That's the stuff that crazed me.
Oh, they absolutely are. Oh boy, I got goosebumps thinking about it. I played Control off stream because I knew that there were all of those like notes and videos and audio recordings, and I didn't want to like rip through the game and miss anything. And I sometimes feel really bad about like reading on stream. I don't know. I just like, if a game has like notes and stuff, I just feel bad that I would sit there and read stuff out loud. I just feel like it's not that entertaining. And so I was like, I'm going to skip Control. I'm going to play it by myself first so that I can like rip through and read every single piece of lore without having to feel bad about it. And I did. I spent like I think that game took me like 45 or 50 hours to beat because I was like circling back through zones, like trying to just make sure I did not miss a single thing. And I got to the Alan Wake stuff. The first time I read Thomas, she makes a reference to Thomas Zane at some point, and I was like, okay, maybe it's not what I think it is. Like maybe they just dropped that name in there as a reference. And then she just straight up finds Alan Wake's pages, and I was like, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, dude. I'm so excited. Like, yes, when she started talking about Alan Wake and like finding those pages, and I was just like, oh my God, they're doing it. They're finally bringing it back. I mean, because they bought it from Microsoft, you know, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago. They bought that IP back, and everyone was like, here we go. We're getting Alan Wake 2. And then nothing. Just they were developing a TV show for a while. There was supposed to be an Alan Wake TV show, and we haven't heard anything about it. So it might be dead, but yeah, man. Oh my gosh, I literally can't believe that they tied that in, and the fact that it makes so much sense, like retroactively makes sense, because Alan Wake's story is like pretty wild. And then they wrote Control, and they were like, "Oh, Control's just crazy as shit. We could easily just shoehorn this in. Like, we don't have to think about it." It's awesome. I love it, dude.
Well, I'll say this. I'm bound to an NDA, but I'll say this.
You said you're balancing NDA?
No. I'm bound to it. I'm bound to
bound.
An NDA.
I thought you said you were balancing, which would be the best term of all time, of like basically saying like, I'm trying not to step over the NDA. So I'm walking around the NDA.
So
you can hit me with that friend DA later.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
We'll do that.
You gotta. Hey, I'm not trying to get you in trouble.
Let's just say, stay tuned.
Yeah, for sure, bro. I've been staying tuned since 2010 or whenever Alan Wake came out. Trust me. I mean, that was the game that made me fall in love with Remedy. Like I played Max Payne with my dad as a kid, actually, and it's my dad's favorite game of all time. But I didn't really get it at the time because I was like, it came out in 98, so I would have been 6 years old, and that shit just right over my head. Yeah. I just thought it was cool because it was like, it looked like movies I had seen. That's it. And I thought that shit was really cool. My dad played Max Payne 2. I never played it. I have obviously since played it, but I came back obviously when Alan Wake came out, and just I don't know what it was. I think at the time I was really into X-Files, and it was just like hit me like a truck. I fell in love. I just haven't gotten over it. And so yeah, Remedy, best developer of all time. They tell my favorite stories. Control, one of the best games probably I've ever played, with the coolest lore in the world. I'm so excited.
Cool. We got a couple questions, and being completely respectful of your time, but let's go ahead and throw some questions in. We got one from Chris Bob. He says, if Q&A has a moment, here's one. You pop it up on the screen. There it go.
He said, if QA has a moment, he's referencing, I think he's doing what I think he's doing. So Chris and I used to, a little background information. Chris and I used to work at a video game studio together. Chris is our audio guy. He does quite literally everything to do with any of the sound that goes into our games, and he's excellent at it. But yeah, I think he's poking a little bit. I like it.
Let's see. So he said, you mentioned your mom got you your first van that you got for your band. So any cool ways your mom has influenced your content? Anyway, it was fun hanging, y'all. Have a dang follow, Mekel, and much love, Austin. Remember to call your mom. This content, meaning band, aesthetic, stream, etc.
Yeah. I mean, dude, definitely. I mean, my mom has influenced me in like a ton of ways. Just like on an emotional level, she's like one of the most empathetic and like compassionate people I've ever met. And I mean, I feel like that's like a really like son to mom thing to say, but it's true. I mean, she really is like, she throws herself into anything she does, like full bore. She, never thinks twice about stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
she also just like has a really big heart for people. And she would, not to use a tired saying, she would just give you the clothes off her back. Like,
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely influences the way that I create content and really the way I do anything in my life. But she's a big reason that I felt really comfortable in the band talking about like mental health. That's like a big focus of ours. Is I'm somebody who's dealt with anxiety and depression like almost my entire life, for as long as I can remember. And if it wasn't for her and how empathetic and compassionate she is, like I don't know if I would have ever felt comfortable getting on a stage at times. I mean, we've played in front of 800 people, and I've said the same thing that I've said in a room of 5, like talking all about what our band is about and my own experiences and stuff, and that extends like to my Twitch, all my content creation, but my Twitch especially, because I pretty frequently remind people that like the idea of my channel, more than just video games, is it's supposed to be like a safe place for people, myself included, and that not all conversations are welcome. There are some things that I just don't think I can give like the full attention that it deserves, but generally most conversations are welcome. If somebody's having like a shot day, and I mean, depression is something that affects a majority of Americans at this point. I mean, it's a very widely known issue, but still not talked about enough. If somebody is like, under a spell of depression and they want to come in and they want to chat about it, like we're all about that. I'm super down talking about stuff like that. And all of it is literally because of my mom. I mean, my mom always pushed me to never hide my feelings, never try to stray away from uncomfortable truths and stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, she informs me in that way. And then also just, she's like, has my back on anything I do. And so I always feel comfortable taking risks because of that. When I wanted to go on tour for the first time, I was in college and I was failing because I had gotten put into a bunch of classes I didn't want to be in and wasn't supposed to be in. They actually weren't even for my degree. My counselor was kind of an idiot, and he put me in a bunch of classes because he said that it would be good for my growth as like a person. And one of those classes was a coding class. And like looking back, I wish that maybe I would have stuck with it a little bit, but it wasn't super important to me, and it had nothing to do with my degree. I was trying to get a multimedia degree because I eventually wanted to get into like cinematography, which I not so much now, but when I was like 18, that's what I wanted to do. And I ended up like failing that class and almost getting kicked out of college. But instead I decided day of to basically, I had a conversation with my counselor. He said I was going to fail out of college. So I called my mom and said I was dropping out, and also that my band was going on tour in like 2 weeks. And that was my risk. I was just going to drop out of college and I was going to do band instead. And she was, as a mother first, bummed because she was like, okay, well, that sucks because I really want you to go to college. I'm the only person in my family that's graduated from high school. That includes my brothers. So I'm the only one that's ever graduated from high school, and I'm the only one that's ever even stepped foot into a college class. And so I think she just wanted, there was like a part of her that wanted that for me. She wanted me to get that degree, to be the only person in our family. I've done really well without it, but yeah, she was bummed at first, and then she was just like, you know what, if this is what you want to do, like I got your back as much as I can. And so I've always felt really comfortable taking risks on any number of things because my mom has just always had my back, and my dad too. My dad less than my mom, because my dad's just like a worrywart, and he like texts me every week. Is like, are you guys going to move home from Chicago? It's dangerous. I'm like, it's not dangerous. I've lived here for 7 years. I've never even had so much as a confrontation for the most part. But yeah, he definitely, he worries more than she does, but they've always had my back. And I feel super comfortable taking risks, maybe even sometimes more than I should, because I know that at the end of the day, like they're going to have my back and they're going to let me mess up, but they'll always be there to pick me up, which is really, really special. And I'm really fortunate for sure.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And, same here for me with like, I'm a very big proponent of mental health, mental health awareness, because I feel like there's too much of a negative stigma surrounding it. And I will frequently speak on it too. Like, we need to bring this into the conversation, bring this into, the limelight, because, mental health, difficulties, like a lot of people struggle with depression and anxiety. Like, I have depression, severe depression and anxiety. And I know there are days when it's like, you can't, it feels like the world's just pressing down on you, and you just can't get through that. And, I'm grateful for the support system I have with my mother, with my wife. My wife's actually in the Twitch chat right now, the Hila Superfina. She's there for me, and
Hi, wife.
all my friends, and the people, my community. Like, it really helps me get through it. And one of the things I was thinking of right now, have you ever considered working with Safe in Our World?
I've never even heard of it. I've worked with a few organizations, but so I'm like super down, but more than likely, right? But yeah, I've never heard of that one specifically.
So Safe in Our World, it's catered towards like technically anyone who's into wanting to help out or spread and remove the negative stigma of mental health speaking, and self-help. But basically, they're people within the gaming industry. So you have a lot of the gaming industry coming together. The guy who's the voice of Geralt from The Witcher, he's one of the big proponents of the group. And I'm actually a brand ambassador for them myself. So I was just wondering, like, if you would be in, I could put you in touch with them.
Yeah,
because they're all about like supporting and bringing more awareness to it. And because of them, I actually got the chance to interview the people who created Avicii and Vector. And, I got to learn like one of the reasons like why he took his life. I didn't know he had severe anxiety and depression. And, he's one of the greats, one of the great, musicians of our lifetime. And, it felt like he had no one to talk to about that, all of the challenges and difficulties he had. So yeah, I'll definitely put you in touch with him, because I love the energy and the message you have, like, and the fact that you're very vocal about it. We need more people like that.
Yeah, dude, I definitely agree. And like I just like try to always encourage, like I said, all of my community. It's just like, be vocal about that stuff. Like, don't be afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
I've worked with one of the big organizations I work with. They're an organization that comes from the music side, which is they're called Heart Support. And they do a bunch of stuff where they go to shows all around the country, and they have volunteers set up with resources for people that might be struggling. They point people towards like therapy and stuff. You know, maybe suggesting that if it's something that could help the individual. It's really cool. I mean, like with most things, they're not mental health professionals.
Yeah.
Just people who've been through a lot of the same shit that a lot of us have, and they know how deep it can get and how hard it can be. So they try to just point people in the right direction and offer any help they can. They even stream on Twitch. Like, they got a partner Twitch channel. It's super dope, and they do sort of the same thing there. They pull messages from their forum. People are allowed to like anonymously submit just like some struggles and stuff that they're going through, and they just pull some questions from there, and they go over those, and they just kind of talk about it and try to encourage those people as best as they can. It's really cool, man. So yeah, like definitely interested in Safe in Our World, and I mean literally any other charity or organization doing stuff like that, because there really just like can't be enough. Like, you can never have enough help for this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Definitely. We got a question from Oldbleezy92. He says, AOB, what's your favorite version of Venom?
That's a good question. So it's tough because that's such a broad question, and that's totally fine because I like how broad it is. it could be anything, right? Because technically Venom is a symbiote, but he takes on characteristics of the people he's attached to. And so you've got like, obviously you've just got like the standard Eddie Brock, but you could go through so many years of like different versions of Eddie Brock. But then you've also got like the Venomized series where he's like jumping from hero to hero and stuff like that. I would say my favorite version of Venom is probably either Anti-Venom or Agent Venom. I'm gonna go Agent Venom because Agent Venom is wacky. Like the concept is so goofy. It's just like, oh, Venom attaches to like a what is it? He's like a special agent or something, like a FBI or something, and it's just basically super soldier, which is like technically everything in the Marvel universe kind of stems from like people looking for the super soldier serum. That's like another thing, but I just always think it's funny. But yeah, he's basically super soldier. And the other reason I think that Agent Venom is really cool is because he ends up tying into not a ton, but he gets like a few mentions in the Donny Cates Venom run, because the Venom run that Cates is doing now takes place directly after Agent Venom. And so there's a few times where the symbiote references being attached to Agent Venom, because he is like basically shitting on Eddie Brock for like not being as I guess headstrong as Agent Venom was, and not as powerful, you know. He's because Eddie Brock is just kind of like a loser for the most part, and Agent Venom was not a loser. So, yeah, I would go that far. I mean, the Venomized stuff is really cool too, though. Just like seeing, it's similar to like Marvel Zombies. It's just really cool seeing your favorite heroes like not as heroes. So the Venomized stuff is all really cool. Yeah, Flash Thompson. That's right. Yeah. I was searching for his name and I was like, who is Agent Venom? That's right, it's Flash. Which again makes it even better that it's Flash Thompson, because then like obviously Flash has all this history with Spider-Man and Peter Parker, and so it's cool because it just kind of like everything there like weaves in and out of each other. And then you get like Miles Morales popping up in the Donny Cates Venom, which is like, so all of a sudden you have like Agent Venom, Flash Thompson, and then there's also Miles Morales in the same universe, and like it's so tight. So yeah, I'll go Agent Venom. I think that's a fair answer.
Okay. We got a question from HLO333. He said, question for both of you. How do you feel about where you were when starting out as a content creator compared to where you are now, building the viewers and the work that you've put in?
Oh boy.
I know, right?
I feel like I am working 10 times harder than I was to get to 10 viewers. Now that I'm at like 30-ish, it's tough too, because I hate referring to it as like a number, because as I don't want to like sound cliche, but like it's not a number, right? Like those are people. Those are people that like show up to see you and like to hang out with you. But you also like, everybody wants to grow. Like I'm not by any means like a full-time streamer. That's not really my dream. I want my channel to grow. Like I want to reach more people, because I think I have things that are important to say, and because the more people I have in my channel, like the better I can promote stuff like Safe in Our World and, you know, stuff like that. Like there's so much you can do as you grow that I could help other people benefit from too. But once you get to like 30 to 50 viewers, it's really easy to kind of like plateau. I mean, it's easy to plateau anywhere, but 30 to 50 is like, that's where you start getting random people coming to your stream a lot. And now it's suddenly like rapid fire all the time trying to get people to stay. Whereas when you're at 1 to 10, it's like, I mean, at least for me, when I was playing PUBG and stuff, it was like a new person every day, maybe like once a day. So it was just like I could focus all my attention on that one person, and it was easy to convince them, you know, why my channel is like a fun place to be and fun place to hang out. But now it's like 5 people could all come in at the same time, and I'm suddenly trying to not only pay attention to my community and pay attention to the game, but then convince new people to be a part of my community. And so I feel like I'm working like 10 times harder. So I guess I think that answers your question. Yeah, it feels like I'm working way harder than I ever have. And I feel like it's probably going to continue to get even more difficult, but that's fine. I don't mind working hard.
Yeah. I know for me, so I'm a full-time content creator at this point. I went full-time back in September last year. More so to do podcasting full-time, because podcasting is primarily my main outlet, with YouTube being second, and now Twitch is, I don't want to say third. It's right there with YouTube. I'm actually enjoying, I think I said to you before, like I'm enjoying Twitch a lot more than I did YouTube, and enjoying the community there a lot more. But for me, it was hard getting to where I'm at now. Like when I stream now, like I have guaranteed there'll be like 10, 15 people show up, like same folks every time. You know, I've made it a point to foster a community, which initially I didn't want a community, because I've seen you know, like being on YouTube, like I've been part of I've been through YouTube drama, like through with other bigger creators, and I've been I've been canceled before because I said Smash initially wasn't meant to be a fighting game but more of a party brawler. So I got canceled by a big Nintendo YouTuber over that. And it went so far to the point where like my wife and my sisters and other family got like death and rape threats because of that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
I totally understand why that could just like kind of kill your motivation.
Yeah, like it just got to the point for me, like I didn't want a community, but then over the last year and a half that I've been rebuilding, like I've had people come through. Like I said, Zero Fanatic was there when I was on Twitch, and then when I came back to YouTube stream, and now back on Twitch, and then, you know, people here, Spirit Shock, HOLO, Desiree, Edward, Road Dragon, like all the, you know, everyone that comes through, it started growing. And then, you know, I hit 10, I hit 15 people. Then we started the Discord. We have a really good community, close-knit group of people. And I like where we're at with the 10 to 15 people that are on the streams, and then the bulk of people that are in the Discord group where we talk, we treat each other like family. Mm-hmm. But I still do want to grow. Like there's still that desire to want to grow and have more people. However, this is where my anxiety kind of kicks in with it, because I'm so close knit with the people that I have now. Like we're so close that we talk every single day, all day, voice calls, you know, and more. It just, and we've had an instance more recently where someone new came into our group, and we didn't know that person who came in was actually tied to the person that canceled me years ago.
Yeah.
And came in, created a whole bunch of drama, and got it to a point where it disrupted our whole community. And, you know, people wanted to leave, people weren't feeling comfortable there anymore. And you know, tying back to the growth, like I want to grow, but I'm so scared of new people coming in.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know,
no, I get it 100%. Like you said, it's like you get really close to people you've got. And so then it starts to feel like it not only comfortable, but yeah, like it gets a little scary that other people might come in and you don't know those people. Yeah. You don't know how they're going to react or how they're going to treat people in your community. And I'm like a pretty big advocate of just like, I guess, nipping it in the bud.
Yeah.
I don't really like deal with harassment in any form, but like if people come into my Twitch chat and like they're new and they're shitty with me or shitty with somebody in my chat, like it's like over immediately, because that's just like not the type of place that I want to hang out, and it's definitely not the type of place anybody else wants to hang out, where I kind of just like let stuff fly willy-nilly. And so I think maybe sometimes that might stunt my growth a little bit. Whereas if I was a little bit looser and I just kind of like nudge stuff, it's just a joke, whatever, like let stuff fly, it might be a little easier, but I wouldn't feel as comfortable. And I know a lot of other people wouldn't. So I definitely, I get 1,000% where you're coming from, because I have the same anxieties of like, if I go from 50 to say 100, is it going to feel less like a community and more, because you get in those like big streams, where there's like 3, 5, 6, whatever, 7, 1,000 people, and all of a sudden then it's just like a bunch of people just and like nobody really knows each other. I'm sure there's like a handful of people, but it's just kind of a wall of chat, and I definitely don't think I ever want to get to that point. Not that I think I will, but I definitely don't think I ever want to get to that point. But I mean, I would probably be comfortable at like 1 to 150. And then that, I think beyond that, I would get really nervous about it just being a wall of text all the time. Yeah. Because I like being able to pay attention to people. I say it all the time, is I don't, because I get a lot of compliments for like reading chat really fast. Like, wow, you're really good. And I'm like, cool. Like, I'm glad that you think that's a positive, but also if I didn't read my chat, like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, I got a really comfy couch out there, and I could definitely just go lay down on that couch and play video games, like super easy. So if I'm not reading my chat, then there is literally no reason for me to be sitting in this chair with this camera on and this big ass light on my face. Like, there's no point. So it's cool when people think it's dope that I'm like fast at reading chat, but it's just like, that's because that's the only reason I'm here. Like, whatever.
All right. Winding down, I got 2 last questions for you before we go. One of the other questions I wanted to ask about is like, since, with podcasting, like, how has that journey been so far, being, a podcaster and co-hosting? Like, how has that been? Like, walk us through that.
Learning new skills, baby. That's been my whole past year. It's been cool, man. I didn't really know anything about podcast. I mean, I've listened to podcasts for years, but all of a sudden I just felt like I played Red Dead Redemption 2. That's really what it was. I played Red Dead 2, and I'm not going to spoil anything, because even though the game is old at this point, I think everybody should play it. But there was a scene at pretty much the end of the game where I was just like blown away. I don't know if you played that game. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So there's some rocks and some sun, and it's pretty sad. I think that's enough for you to get what I'm saying. So I've always been really emotionally attached to stories, especially in video games. I've never been one that's been shy about like shedding a tear or full blown bawling my eyes out. Like I cry. I will cry to video games 1,000%. And the end of that game, I just was awestruck. And all I wanted to do for the next week was talk about it. And I was like, man, what's a really good way to force people to talk to me about video games? I bet I could start a podcast. So I hit up my friend Nick, who like is one of the funniest people I know, because we would play like Apex and stuff together. And literally anytime he opened his mouth, I'm just laughing. And so I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like I'll be like the more serious, like, the more like emotionally invested, serious side. And like Nick also loves video games, but he's way funnier than I am. And so he'll be like the comedic relief. And it works really well because the way we do it is each person picks a game each week. Like 1 week he does a game, 1 week I do a game. And so not only do you get a ton of content, we try to do episodes once a week, but scheduling and stuff sometimes gets in the way and we get a little bit behind. But every week you get a different perspective. So 1 week you get me, which I generally am like super heavy on the facts, really, really like talking about the development and how the game was made. And then you get Nick, who's a little bit more loose. He cracks way more jokes than I do. It's a lot more lighthearted, and it's cool because I think that you get like a little bit of each. And also he picks way different games than I would ever pick. Like we did Persona 5 last week where he literally talked about the entire story, which I've never played that game. And so he's like talking about like the most insane details of the story and literally just going beat by beat through the plot, which is really cool. And then I'm doing Max Payne as our next episode. And for me, it's like a little bit of story, but I found a ton of information about the development. So I generally focus more on the development. And I think Nick really likes to focus on the story a little bit more than I do. But it's really cool, and I really like it. It's been a really cool experience, and also watching it grow has been. I mean, as I'm sure that you've experienced, it is pretty wild. Like,
yeah,
going from like releasing it and getting like 10 listens, and I was like, dope. 10 people listen to me talk for an hour and a half about whatever game I picked this week. That's awesome. And then now we're like sitting pretty comfortably at like about 1,000 listeners a month. And I'm just like, dude, what the hell? Like 1,000 people listen to us talk for an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. Like that's crazy because I come from music where I can get somebody to listen to a song for like 3 minutes. That's not really that much time. It's like, if you hate it, whatever, you lost 3 minutes of your life. But like to get somebody to sit there and listen to me for an hour and a half is like bonkers because sometimes I hear my own voice and I'm like, bro, I would not listen to me for 5 minutes. So it's been really cool. And like we recently brought a producer on that he just kind of like flies under the radar. Nobody knows his name or anything, but he like hit me up, just a guy that I've like casually known through music and stuff. And he was like, dude, I really want to produce. Like, I was like, man, we don't have money. Like we don't make, I pay $24 a month for hosting. Like I don't make dollars back. Yeah. Like, I know it's not a lot, but that's the only money that goes through the podcast is me paying for my hosting every month. And he was like, no, I don't want money, dude. He's like, I really like the podcast and I just want to help you guys. And I was like, dude, I can't ask you to work for free. He's like, you're not asking me. I want to do it. And so he helps a lot now too, which is really cool. He helps us like do some research and then he edits, which saves me like a ton of time because as I'm sure like between writing an episode and like structuring it, I mean, dude, for us, like sometimes I'm putting like 8 to 10 hours into research and then I got to edit it afterwards. And that takes like 3 or 4 hours and I just don't have the time. And that's basically what he hit me with. He's like, bro, you don't have the time to do this. Like, I don't know why you keep trying to do this every week. You're staying up till 8 a.m. editing the podcast the day it's supposed to be out. I was just like, I can't argue with that. Like, you're not wrong. And so now he edits for us, which is really cool. And basically we're just trying to push it as much as we can and see how far it goes. And but if it never grows, I hope it does. But if it never grows now, like I'm excited about it still. So it rules. Man. From the Shelf Games 2020.
Nice. Dude, I wish I had someone to help like that. I've had, it's interesting, and I think it's another reason why I'm kind of shifting away from YouTube to get away from a lot of the gaming YouTubers I've dealt with is because every time I turn around, dude, like I always have someone trying to manipulate or use me for something. Like when it comes to my podcast, like I've had there's a collective group that tries to like be nice to me in public, but they talk so much shit behind my back. They don't know that I know.
So many people
dude.
Yeah. Trust me, man. Like music is the same way.
Yeah,
it's definitely the same way.
And it's like they keep like there's one in particular who keeps offering me tips. Like when it comes to like my written reviews or my video reviews or my podcast,
unsolicited, probably
completely unsolicited. But he's giving me licensed bullshit. That's what it is. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
So he wants like, okay, so this dude wanted to charge me $50 per article for my written reviews. Plus he wanted free game codes, whatever game he wanted. And he's willing to edit my podcast for $100 an episode.
I mean, that's not that's not outrageous for like a professional editor, but when you're not making any money, like $100 an episode, that's a lot of money.
But guess what? He has no experience with any of it.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if I'd be doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, I offered to edit a couple friends' podcast episodes, and I don't know a ton, but I've been recording like home demos for like 10 years and stuff. So like I know how to mix. And I mean, I think if you go back and you listen to the first it's probably like 15 episodes that I edited, maybe 20 of our podcast, I think they sound good. I've gotten compliments on from people saying they sound better than some of the pro podcasts I listen to. And so I think I have an ear for that stuff. But even then I was just like, dude, this is not my job. Like if you want to just toss me like $20 or $10-20, like I'll edit your 4-hour podcast. Like give me a chance. I don't want to do that now. I've since rescinded that offer to anybody because I'm like, I don't have time. But I would never ever dream of charging that much money for something I'm not experienced in.
Tips though.
I mean, hey, look, somebody maybe I'll charge like $10 a tip. So, and anybody listen out there, you want to shoot me a little Twitter DM, I'll feed you bullshit for $10 a tip. I got no problem doing that. Times is rough. We got to make money the way we can.
True. All right, and that goes into my last question, man. With this, the whole COVID-19 coronavirus situation going on, dude, it's been hitting everyone hard. Like how are you, you and your family, like how is and people like how is everyone dealing with it?
It's been okay. Like it hasn't hit me super hard. I mean, I got laid off from my job. I was a contract quality assurance for a video game studio, and that contract was supposed to end in June, so it ended a couple months early. And I think I finished my last day was like April 21st or something like that. And that was not fully because of COVID-19. I'm sure that it impacted our workflow a little bit because everybody transitioned to work from home all of a sudden, and like we're all trying to get used to it. So part of it, I'm sure, was because everything kind of slowed down, and all of a sudden everyone's moving at a little bit of a slower pace than we needed to be, and that impacted some things at the studio and whatever. But I mean, overall, like I just stay home. Like I'm very lucky that I busted my ass and I saved a bunch of money, as much as possible, so my like rent and stuff is covered while I am going through the interview process with like a couple other jobs, which I'm thankful I was able to get like some interviews, which is, that's obviously a huge positive. But yeah, it hasn't like really. The only thing it's affected is like I normally go home to Peoria like once a month ish and just hang out with family and see friends and stuff over the weekend. And like I haven't been able to do that. And so that's been a massive, massive bummer because that was like a once a month, I look forward to it almost every month and being able to see and hang out with people and just kind of escape Chicago for a little bit. So, I mean, yeah, I've just been cooped up. I mean, that's really like the worst of it. I'm very thankful that I've got a lot of really intelligent friends and a lot of friends who have far more experience with stuff like this than I do. I have friends that are doctors and things that are working right now. And so I've been lucky to be able to receive a lot of information from them and so that, because of course there's like a bunch of shit all over the internet about what's happening, and some of it is very incorrect and some of it you're not so sure and stuff like that. So I'm pretty thankful that I've got a lot of really intelligent friends that have been able to give me that information firsthand. And so I've been able to stay informed and also try to inform other people. I do have a friend that caught it. I know a couple of people that ended up getting it. And I just, I guess the biggest thing I could say about it, man, is like it is a lot worse than I think some people think. It affects people of all age groups. A friend of mine, she's like mid-20s, super healthy, no like pre-existing conditions. She's not immunocompromised or anything like that. She ended up catching it, and like she now has permanent scarring on her lungs, and her doctor said that there's a pretty good chance like she'll never breathe the same again.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like she's not deathly ill or anything, but this is a girl who is super like I said, super active and stuff, and she plays in bands, and like it will potentially affect the way she plays music forever now, because she's gonna struggle a little bit more to breathe, and just stuff like that. It's like I just don't I think people maybe should pay a little bit more attention to the reality of the situation, and not be so caught up in the idea that everybody just wants to get outside. Because trust me, I want to leave my house.
Yeah,
I really do. Like I'm tired of just going from home to the grocery store. But if I can prevent somebody from getting sick, I'm gonna do that. And that shouldn't be that controversial of a statement, I don't think.
Yeah, and I'm for me, like I used to. So the job I left, I used to work for a hospital, Hawaii Pacific Health. I worked for them for 6, 7, 8 years. And I was a senior systems analyst for them. And one of the things with working there, I used to set up like the internet lines, the telephony lines, set up the VoIP systems and whatnot like that. And when I quit in September 4th of last year, I quit. And, I remember 2 months later that's when we first started hearing about COVID-19. Yeah. But it wasn't to where, it is now. And then, I find out a couple weeks ago, like my entire department, because we would have to go into the hospital, go into the rooms, like regardless. And, I can tell you from my experience working in a hospital, no matter how much hospitals try to keep everything clean, sanitary, you can't prevent everything.
Oh yeah, that's the reality. Absolutely.
Yeah, and like my entire department, like the people who used to work in it, everyone caught it. They all caught COVID-19, and unfortunately, one of my old coworkers actually passed away from that about a week and a half ago. And it's when I hear people say, "Oh, it's just the flu, it's just this," no, it's.
I mean, we got a vaccine for the flu. That's
right.
Usually the first thing I say is like, there's a vaccine for the flu, so it's already not like the flu. But it's super unfortunate, man. It's like, just stay home. Like, just keep playing video games, like keep watching movies, do whatever you got to do to stay sane. But like, it's super easy to protect other people, and like, you also just don't know what other people have or what they're going through. Like. Whether it's a compromised immune system or anything like that. It's so, why take the risk? Like, why potentially put somebody in harm's way when you could just as easily not do it? It's super easy to do. You actually just don't go outside.
Yeah.
I mean, go on a walk and stuff. That's what I've been doing. I'll go on a walk here and there just to get outside and breathe some fresh air. But like, don't go to the skate park. You don't need to go to the beach. You don't need to go to GameStop or whatever. Like everything will be fine. It's like we just got to get through it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the longer that people don't realize that, like the worse it's gonna get, or even the more drawn out it's gonna be.
Yeah. Old Bleezy has one last question. He wanted to ask, what platform do you main? Like what console or
PC is probably like. It's not probably. It definitely is. I play PC more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I jump all over the place. I mean, I have a Switch. I have a PS4. I guess it's PC, but I play a lot of VR too. I'm all over the place. PC for the most part, just because that's where I'm usually sitting. So, but yeah, PS4 is out in the living room, and then I got my Switch on my dock right here. Switch is generally reserved for travel and pooping. A lot of pooping with the Switch, to be honest.
Yeah.
When I got it, that was the first thing I was like, this is gonna be so great for when I have to go to the bathroom. Girlfriend's like, that would be the one thing you think of. I'm like, absolutely. But yeah, and like I'm not one of those like console versus PC people. I always one of my like favorite things to say about console versus PC or PlayStation versus Xbox is like, if the console you own has the games that you want to play and you're having a good time on it, then that's the right console for you, or the right PC or whatever. You know, it's like, I do not give a shit what you're playing on. As long as you're playing video games and those video games are making you happy, then you're doing the right thing. Like,
yeah,
you know, it doesn't matter to me. The only thing I ever get upset about is that some of my friends don't have PCs and I can't play games with them. But like, beyond that, yeah. But beyond that, like, as long as you're playing games and you're happy, like, you're doing it right.
Yeah. All right, man. And I actually lied. I have one final question for you.
Hit me with it.
Did you have fun
today?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I did. I'll tell you what, though, I was real scared when I woke up at 1:30 and I was like, oh shit. Stayed up till 6:30-ish editing a YouTube video, and I just like forgot to set my alarm. And so I like saw your message on Twitter like right when I woke up, and I was like, what time is it? Oh, it's 1:30. So I woke up right on time, but probably look a little tired. But yeah, I had a blast, dude. I had so much fun.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And is there anything you want to leave the audience with before we go, or anything? Floor's yours.
I don't know, man. I guess follow me on Twitter if you want to. At eyyohbee, it's literally this same thing. Just keep playing video games. I hate promoting myself. I don't know. I always feel, I know that's like what you're supposed to do, but I always feel weird about it. If you want to follow me on Twitch, cool. But like, I'm not going to beg you, you know, just keep playing video games and stay inside, and buy Skater XL on July 7th, 2020. I don't work for them. I just want you to play that game. That's it.
Oh man, dude, this is really awesome. Finally getting you on the show, man. I'd love to have you back on, and you know, if you'd ever be interested, and dude,
absolutely. Maybe we'll trade places. Maybe we'll have you on ours when we start doing guests.
Hey, let me know. Let me know, dude. You know I don't sleep. Been up.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I definitely know. You said 6 a.m. you had a podcast, and I was like, I mean, I know we're like very far apart world-wise, but somebody asked me to get up 6 a.m. my time to do a podcast, I'd be like, you're gonna have to do it without me.
Dude, your face when I tell you, like, dude, I've been up for 27 hours. You're like, wait, what?
It's been a long time since I've gone more than like 24 hours. I've definitely stayed up for 24 hours, but more than that, I'm just like, all right, I don't care what time it is. I gotta go to bed.
Oh man, so with that being said, people, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you're watching on Twitch, if you want, you can follow the channel. We have these podcast live streams every single week. It's a lot of fun. Twitch.tv/Mekel Kasanova. If you're on YouTube and you're watching, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, share it with someone who might enjoy it, and links for my guests for eyyohbee, everything from Twitch to YouTube. Yeah, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter are all right there. So if you want to follow them, I highly recommend you guys do. Links are all there. And if you enjoyed this podcast, you can catch it on all podcasting outlets. It'll be available later on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. Yes, I'm reading off it right in front of me because it's easier to do.
I was going to say that's the best way to do it.
Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and as I said, live on Twitch and as well as YouTube. And with that being said, people, this is eyyohbee and Mekel Kasanova. We are signing out. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We'll catch y'all on the next one.
Peace.